Hello, tiny friends. Welcome back to TinyKeyHoleMinis. I'm Jolene, and today is another episode of the Pet Sematary. But first, really quickly, I'm going to run through all of this foliage that I purchased off of Temu. The app is loaded with this stuff, and there is such a huge selection. Typically, this is for the N scale and the HO scale for the train models. So a lot of this stuff is micro, but because it's so versatile, you can easily use it in a 1/12 or 1/24 or other scales. In a larger scale, it's just going to be a smaller piece versus a larger piece in a smaller scale. I'm not going to show any of the prices today, but this stuff ranges from $1 to $5. This first listing had several different options. So I got one strip of pink flowers. This would probably be a flower bed or a hedge in a smaller scale. And here's another option that you can go with. It has less flowers and there are 6 pieces on it. So this listing has multiple colors, multiple designs and styles that you can choose from. And most of them do. But you can see here that you can choose if you want more flowers or less flowers. And I love that option. The less flowers have more of the grassy stems coming out of it. Here's another color from the same listing, and it's yellow flowers, and you get 6 little tufts on this one. So in a smaller scale, these could be flower bushes, but they're just going to be little flower patches for my scale. Okay, so these next pieces are little patches of long grass. So little tufts of long grass. You get 32 pieces of these in each pack, and these go by the season. So I purchased winter day, I have late autumn, I have early autumn. You can get spring if you want spring. I have winter grass. And I like the darker seasons because I need a lot of grass that looks like it's dead or dying. So I chose the darker seasons. I love to put these tufts around the bottoms of the trees and different pieces throughout the diorama or the project. These things are awesome. And now I've gotten a second listing here. Same exact thing, but just different color options. So if you want summer, I believe they had summer. They had a darker green, a brighter green, but I chose these ones for the purpose of the project. So the packages are different, the listings are different, but you're getting the same type of foliage. Okay, so this listing is actually a wheat or rice field, and in the picture they show these tiny little figures because these things look huge compared to the figures. Again, I'm using them for long patches of grass. I love these things. But in a smaller scale, I guess you could use it for like a wheat or rice field. You get a variety of choices with this as well. So there is a late field, a early rice field, a rice field, a wheat field, a late wheat field, early wheat field, golden wheat field, a spring patty, and an autumn field. And I got the late field. I got a couple of the late fields, a couple of the spring patties, and a rice field. So that's what you're seeing. So I got several of these as well. Okay, so next are these little green bushes. And for these tubes, you get 6 little bushes in each tube. And I purchased several different listings of these because I wanted to see the difference. These have little tiny leaves and long blades of grass, and they're just tiny little tufts of foliage. And I love these. Now, these ones aren't as hard and crispy as the ones in the containers. These ones are super hard and crispy. You get 28 pieces in these containers, and they're all separate little pieces, or you can pull them off in one strip and have a row of them. But I love using these for just random plants lying about. This one is actually yellow flowers, so tiny little yellow flowers on them, maybe some sort of yellow plant or yellow buds on them, But again, you get 28 pieces in this one as well. And these ones aren't as stiff as the darker green ones. These ones are containers of white flowers, and they're little bushes of white flowers. And you get 28 pieces in them. And I've got a few of these as well. Now this had a variety of colors to choose from. Okay, in this container you get 5 bigger patches of different wildflowers. I love these. Look how big the patches are. You get 5 different ones. You got these taller flowers. I don't know what they're called, but I love them. And you got a patch of forget-me-nots. Oh, I love those. And then just different little colors. I got 2 of these containers, and I'm definitely going to purchase more of these because you know how you see just a random patch of wildflowers in a field or in a yard or in a patch of grass? That's what I'm going to use these for, because that's what they remind me of, just like a random patch of wildflowers. Okay, so moving on with today's project, I'm going to be creating this Ludlow town sign. Ludlow is the town that the Pet Sematary is in, and this sign is originally in the 2023 Pet Sematary prequel Bloodlines. So I thought it would be super fun to reference that movie by creating the sign and placing it in the front in one of the corners. I printed these images out on a premium matte photo paper. It's a bit thinner than cardstock, and the image shows up really nicely on this paper. I'm also going to be creating the mile marker sign for the town Derry, which is only 20 miles from Ludlow. Derry, Maine is where Stephen King's novel It takes place, and you actually see this mile marker sign in the remake of the original Pet Sematary. So this came from the 2019 version. For the Ludlow town sign, I'm going to be using my scrap wood and just do my best to duplicate that sign. I purchased this thin sheet of wood in a package of multiple pieces from Temu, and I'm just going to use this for the backboard. It's super easy to cut and it's pretty thin, so I think it's going to be perfect as the backboard. I'm also going to use these matchsticks just to place around the frame, and I'm going to glue these into place with tacky glue, and then I'll trim off the excess. Okay, I jumped ahead and I have all my pieces ready to assemble and paint. For these long posts, I'm just using that extra scrap wood I had left over from the stair banister that I purchased. And then I just added some wire to the bottom to insert it into the base. And I added a couple skinny sticks together to create that part that hangs down. And I'm just going to put in a couple of eyelets, but I'm not going to use the eyelets that screw in. I'm just going to use these little jewelry pins with the loops on the ends because they're a lot thinner, and this is pretty thin wood. The screws would be too long and pop through, and these I can cut down to the size I need. So I'm just cutting them down, making some adjustments. I'm going to use the straighter parts that I cut off to create some S-hooks. And then I'm going to put them into place with super glue. To create the top parts of these posts, I used a spindle or another post that I had, and I just filed the bottom parts of those to shape, cut them off, and glued them onto the tops of these. I'm just using my pin drill to create some tiny little holes, and I'm trying to be very careful because this is super thin and I don't want to pop through the sides. So I'm just dry fitting it to make sure that it's in deep enough. And once I get it good to go, I'm just going to add super glue and pop them right into place. And then I'll attach the S-hooks in between the two pieces and they'll connect together. For painting, I was undecided whether I wanted to do deep ochre or cinnamon for the base color. And then I'm going to go over with a brown And I think I'm going to go with the cinnamon because the cinnamon's kind of like a darker version of the deep ochre. So it'll look a little bit older as parts of it are coming through the brown. So I'm just giving it a base coat. I'm not going to go thoroughly on this because I'm going to be covering up with brown. I just want a little bit of this to show through. Okay, I got my brown on. I got some of this cinnamon showing through, like the brown has worn down a bit. And now I'm going to give it a little bit of a black acrylic wash just to age it up a little bit more. Okay, so to create the bottom part of the sign, I actually created a stencil with my Cricut design program and printed it out on stencil vinyl. Now, I'm using stencil because I don't want the letters to actually be vinyl. I want them to be painted on. So I thought if I created a stencil, I can get that look I'm going for. This is super tiny, so I'm hoping it's going to work out. I'm just going to carefully peel away the tape, making sure that the stencil stays into place and the little tiny pieces that are in the middle of some of these letters stay put. So I'm just taking my time while peeling this off because I really only have like one shot to do this. Okay, I'm going to use a stamper and white acrylic paint, and I'm just going to go over the whole stencil. Now, the first section where it says Home of the Ludlow, that's going to be completely white. This part of the sign actually says Home of the Ludlow Beavers, and the Ludlow Beavers are Ludlow's hockey team. The word Beavers is painted in gold. So I'm going to give it a white base layer so that the gold paint will show up a little more over the brown. Okay, so it isn't dried completely, but I'm going to go ahead and carefully peel this away. And it's looking really good. Now those solid spots are where those tiny little pieces are that I have to pick away. So I'm going to use my picker tool and just kind of pick those pieces right out of there. And this actually worked out, so this was the hard part. Okay, that kept me on the edge, and I am super glad it's over with. So I'm going to move on to the larger part of the sign, and I'm just going to use some tacky glue. Once I got my tacky glue on, I'm just going to use a brush to spread it around. And I do have a little bit of water on my brush just to thin the tacky glue a little bit more. This will help to give it a nice even layer of glue, so when I lay the paper down, it's nice and smooth. Okay, for the last part, to glue the post on the sides, and I'm just using tacky glue. I'm going to set this aside to dry and work on the mile marker. Okay, I'm going to use a piece of chipboard for the base to this sign. So I'm just marking it out, and then I'm going to paint the back side of this with Tester's silver chrome paint. Once this dries, I can go ahead and cut this piece out. Now that it's cut out, I can go around the sides and paint those. And painting this brown chipboard with the chrome enamel paint, it kind of made it look like galvanized metal, which is what I kind of wanted. Some sort of aluminum or something that these signs are made out of. I'm going to use some tacky glue and just put a little bit on the chipboard, use my brush to spread it around nice and even, and then go ahead and lay down the sign. Okay, to create the metal post on the mile marker sign, I'm going to use brown cardstock, and I'm just going to create 3 skinny lines all the way from top to bottom. I'm not really measuring this, I'm just eyeballing it, and then I'm going to score each line a couple of times all the way down. This will be easier to fold the pieces, and I kind of just need it to be like a U shape. So there's going to be a back and 2 sides, and then the front piece will be opened. Okay, I'm just measuring how long this is so that I can cut it right in half and have 2 pieces. And it is going to measure to be about 5.5 inches. So that would be like 5.5 feet in my miniature world. And that'll be fine. I'm just going to leave it like that. So I'm just folding it and getting my pieces nice and sharp, my little folds. Now most of these metal posts have holes going all the way down, so I'm just using a sewing needle to create those little tiny holes that will go all the way down the inside panel. Now it did take me a couple tries to figure this out, so I do have some extra pieces sitting aside, and I decided to just trim some of those pieces down to create the front flaps that kind of flap outwards in the front, like a, I don't know how to explain it, but you'll see it when I'm done. So they're kind of like an L shape, and I'm just going to glue them to the sides of the inside panels. And then they'll have that little ledge that comes outwards. Now that they're assembled, I'm just going to give them a couple coats of matte Mod Podge to strengthen them up and make them a little bit stiffer. This way they won't bend or break on me later on. After this process dries, I'm going to have to go in with the pin and poke the holes again, and then I'm going to give them a nice coat of the Testors Chrome Silver. Once this dries, I'm going to have to go back in with the pin again and poke through the holes. I'm going to add a little bit of black acrylic wash for aging, and now I'm going to put everything into place and add just a little bit more foliage. Okay, tiny friends, I'm going to end there for today. I have so much more to do just to this front section, and I could lay this foliage down forever. I feel like the more you lay down, the better it looks. So I have so much more of that to put down. And you can notice the foam board underneath here on this edge. I'm going to fix that as well and fill that in. That's just a result from the shrinkage due to the plaster and the mud shrinking down, but it only happened on this side, so that's a good thing. But I will be filling that in and fixing that as well so it won't be exposed. I have trees to make, more wood to lay down, and lots more brush and foliage. And I'm not going to leave that stump there. I just placed that there for now. It may be moved. I may switch it out with another one, but however, I will be adding to it. And I just love that little patch of forget-me-nots. It's perfect. I hope you all have enjoyed this video today. If so, please click that like button and give it a thumbs up. And if you have missed any of the previous episodes, you can click on the playlist in the description box below to catch up. As always, I like to thank everybody for subscribing and welcome to all my new subscribers. Until next time, tiny friends, you all have a lovely day, and I will see you all on the mini side. Bye-bye.